Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about transformational technology. And I wanted to say hello. I'm behind the screen for the next hour. We're going to share a lot of information. It will go quickly, but the good news is we have a library for you to look at any time, whether you missed this live chat today or you want to look at any of our past shows. So with that, I'm going to turn the video off and let you enjoy the information you came to hear. So as I said, today we're talking about transformational technology. And I'm going to turn off my phone as it starts to ring. Thanks for your patience on that. There's a lot of noise about the scary side of technology out there. And like anything, you obviously need to be alert and thoughtful when you're choosing technology to pay for and use. But we think our clients and the people that they care most about really benefit from many forms of technology. Everything from toys to tools to investing in companies that make amazing things. So we're going to spend the next hour talking about that kind of technology that we think you might want to pay for because it may enhance your life in important ways. Let's have a look. Alexa, who and what is she? She's not just a speaker, and she's not just a way for you to order more boxes to your house from Amazon. She may not be beautiful, but she's the brains behind millions of enabled Alexa devices. Did you know that she has over 1,000 skills? You may know her through Echo, a Bluetooth-enabled speaker just like your iPod. Did you know that there is a child-friendly Echo? That's a version that entails a subscription after the first year. And when you want Alexa to do something, you have to wake her up on the device, and she will follow the instructions you give. What are some of the things that you might not know about this technology that is becoming more commonplace in many homes? Maybe it's already in yours. First, did you know that you can rename her? Just go to the Alexa smartphone app. So many of the things we're going to talk about today have a smartphone app. Click Settings, tap on the device whose wake word to wake her up you want to change, and pick one from the drop-down list. Now you should know that Alexa integrates with lots of other devices. You can connect her to your Roomba vacuum cleaner, that's that round little one that goes around the floor, or a Wemo coffee maker. You can connect her to Facebook Messenger. You can even connect her to Google Spreadsheets. She has tons of music playing capability that can follow you from room to room throughout the house. Finally, you can get a daily briefing from Alexa called a flash briefing, Amazon's name for a quick information dump that draws content from lots of sources like news publishers, weather forecasters, and exchange rate trackers. These could include BBC World Service, The Guardian, MTV, sports, even a joke of the day. So you can have a lot of fun with it, and it can provide a lot of helpful uses to you. Self-driving cars. This is an interesting idea that is in development. So we've heard the stories about self-driving vehicles out there. Maybe you've even been lucky enough to look to your left or right and see one of these. They are not common today, but I guarantee you they will be. And the interesting thing about self-driving cars is where they've done studies and people, especially millennials, choose technology over the brand of the car. So when they shop a car today, before the self-driving, we're going to get to that, but this has impact for self-driving cars. They are choosing what technology the car has over the brand of the car. So even though the tech study looked at a lot of different aspects of technology and car buying, they found that technology is more important than the brand. So nearly 60% of those millennial car shoppers they surveyed, and more than 40% of baby boomers, said they would switch brands of car just to get the technology features they want. And if you think about that, we still have a lot of cars in circulation from well before 2006-ish, which I would place as the year for dramatic leaps forward in car technology. They've been coming along for the last 25 years, but if we're before 2006 and we're looking at purchasing a car, we really have to think about the lack of technology in that car and whether it will suit our needs, even though the price might be quite a bit lower. But those are impressive study figures, and they show just how easy it is for automakers to lose sales if they don't offer the technology that buyers are now looking for. And although that tech study looked at a lot of different aspects of technology, it's also true that some technology is, some buyers see the technology as an interference, not a help. So if we're looking at self-driving cars, which is sort of the ultimate car technology, you don't even need a human driver, although there will be a human in the driving seat. What is transformational and what's just convenient about these cars and the technology we already have in cars? Well, the main thing on self-driving cars is big. They have the opportunity to virtually eliminate human error car accidents. If you have teens, elders, or have ever just been a distracted driver or driven next to one, we still lose 40,000, that's 40,000 people every year to car accidents. Here's another transformational way this technology will change us. Think about how many life minutes are spent in a car getting to and from work or school or on vacations. For the driver, all those minutes can be used differently. Wouldn't that change your life? Now, connected mobile apps. We have a lot of this today in our cars already, but you may not be aware of its opportunity to be part of your life. So some smartphone apps obviously let you remotely lock and unlock the doors, check the status of things like fuel and tire pressure, and even remotely start your car to warm things up on a cold winter's morning. You're going to want to check with every time there's a mobile app for your car or any technology in your car, does it come with a subscription fee? So we always want to know that. But there is teen driver technology today, and this can be helpful. So lots of different cars have some type of teen driver limitation built in. Maybe you already use something like this. They can tell you if the car is driven over a certain speed. They can disable the stereo if seatbelts aren't used, and even tell you how loud that music is that they are playing. Now, Chevrolet's teen driver feature also offers a report card that'll tell parents if safety systems like ABS, automatic braking systems, or forward collision alert have been triggered while Junior or Princess was behind the wheel. So you may be aware of some of these technologies already today, but the reason we bring this up in this presentation is if you're not aware, and also so that you follow the improvements that will come with all of these technologies, because they're improving very quickly. Stolen vehicle tracking software. So we know that somewhere around 750,000 cars every year are stolen. That number sounds big, but almost half, or 46% of those, eventually get recovered. And that number continues to improve. And that credit for finding those cars goes to this kind of innovative technology that car builders are putting into their cars. So it can tell law enforcement where that stolen car or truck has gone to. Then there's Apple CarPlay or Android Autoplay. So sometimes you want to bring the technology with you into the car because the in-car entertainment system isn't user-friendly or up-to-date. Same thing with a navigational system. So Apple's CarPlay and Google's Android Auto let you plug in your smartphone, and of course it takes over your screen, replacing it with something that looks a lot more familiar to you and easy to use. But we don't want you to be a distracted driver. So I have to say here, of course, we'd have the passenger set this up while driving, or you set it up before you start driving. But from there, you'd be able to access your music, your maps, your phone's built-in voice control features. Now there's another cool development called adaptive cruise control. This is like a mini driverless experience. advanced driver assist systems like adaptive cruise control, self-parking. These use an array of sensors built into the car, and you can match the speed of the car in front of you so you never get too close. You don't have to constantly hit the gas and brake in highway traffic, changing the way traffic moves. And some systems even allow the car to be brought to a complete halt and then start again automatically, making stop and go traffic considerably less frustrating. It might make you uneasy handing over some of the control to the car, but we think that once you use it, you'll never want to go back. And if you already drive a very expensive car, you will have seen some of this technology as a regular feature already. Now, another cool thing that's in car technology that's even getting better is an exit warning to protect cyclists. So those friends and loved ones who are riding bikes on the road, we're all supposed to share the road. It's very difficult to do in a busy city and sometimes can be difficult to do on a dark country road. So people riding bicycles in congested areas or country areas where light is poor are often really worried about, if they're going to get hit, because it's a very real concern. But you know what the number one thing is? An unexpected car door opening. That's the way they get hurt most often. So automakers are starting to address this by having rear-looking sensors that detect approaching bicycles so you don't open your door. Pretty cool. And those systems, by the way, are designed to work for several minutes after the engine has been turned off, because we sometimes park and sit there for a minute, then get out of our car. That's where the danger lies for the cyclist. You open your door, they get hit or go flying. And this way, it alerts the passenger with a series of bright lights that the bicyclist is coming towards them. And then if the warning is ignored in the most advanced systems, it's going to physically lock the door and prevent you from having it be swung open into the path of the approaching object. So we're using the example of cyclists here, but obviously this would help quite a bit if you had traffic or anything else coming towards you as well. Now there's also a rear cross traffic alert. So parking lots are extremely common sites for low speed but expensive car crashes. When you back out of a parking spot, even with a rear view backup camera, it can be, especially with, I did it the other day, there's something the size of a bus parked next to me. It's not a bus, just a really big car. I drive a smaller car. But that's why rear cross traffic alert is so useful. So now we have sensors in this instance built into the rear of the car. The system alerts you to approaching vehicles, shopping carts, or people on their feet who are going to wander behind your car without you noticing, and loud beeps are standard with these systems. But some cars are starting to automatically brake before a collision occurs. So one of the human adjustments we'll have to do with all this cool technology is recognize that the car may take over, and that's not a mistake, or at least we hope it isn't. And a couple more things with cars before we move on to other technology, but the car is where we spend so much of our time. It's how we get where we need to go. So there's a lot of things that you need to know about car technology that will impact your life and transform it over the coming decades. And let me just pause here for a second out of the list of things we want to talk about to say, if you're doing your financial planning, at some point, we all have to have a conversation about what's the last fuel car, whether it's electric fuel or gas, that we purchase, because the next car that we will be spending our time in is driverless. So interesting conversation that's probably premature today, but something on the horizon. Lane departure warning system. So big words for distracted driving helps. A lot of us already have this. If you start to put on your turn signal, your car starts to beep at you saying that's not a good idea. Don't turn into that lane. But they're getting even better. And so sometimes we always have the visual and audible notification if we're paying attention to it. Now they're putting vibrations into the steering wheel along with that. And then it actually, the system turns itself off at some point when you've made the correct traffic decision. So that's a good thing. But there's also even more advanced version of that, sometimes called lane keeping assist, that helps you nudge back into the proper lane, which can literally be a lifesaver if you were going to head into opposing traffic. So we all read about those accidents where people have somehow gotten into the wrong lane of traffic going the opposite way. The lane keeping assist is designed to make sure that doesn't happen. Automatic emergency braking feels like we've always had some version of that in the cars for a long time. This is a little bit different. This is sensors eliminating the forward crash. Number one way we get in crashes is a rear end, right? Because we're following too close for conditions. We don't have time to react. So this automatically applies the brakes to diminish the severity of the crash or avoid it altogether. Those standards will be in all cars by 2022, but probably are not in all of your cars today. Those systems are good, but while we're still driving, we want to make sure we're paying attention to everything that's going on around us, because until we get all this technology in place, we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to drive safely. The last thing I want to bring to your attention is a 360-degree camera in your car. So insurance claims from low-speed crashes are some of the most common things we see, right? And usually during parking, a 360-degree camera can make your life a lot easier, especially if you're subject to being around SUVs, but you're not an SUV. But by combining the cameras on every side of the car with some interesting computing power, the car's display can show you a virtual top-down view of your surroundings, which is more than most of us see today on our car cameras. It can show the sides of your garage, whether you're lined up in your parking spot at the grocery store, or provide invaluable assistance when parallel parking. The systems are getting cheaper and cheaper. They're available on even moderately priced cars today, and they're coming for all cars. So that's a look at the transportation system that is so much a part of our lives. We are going to driverless cars. It's going to happen. How, when, and how much is always the questions that we deal with clients and the people they care about. But it's really an interesting question to say, does the technology transform my experience or does it interfere with it? And I hope that you'll agree that most of the things we just mentioned are transformative when we spend so much time in our car. And ultimately, when we get to the driverless car as a common scenario, we are going to save significant numbers of lives and disability situations, and get those life minutes back that we're spending focusing on the road. Okay, that was the longest slide we have, so thanks for your patience with that. Now, technology, when it tells us how to navigate our physical world, has come a long way as well. If you're my age, you remember having a paper map in the car and sitting in the passenger seat or the back seat and having kind of scream fest with which exit you're supposed to turn at and so forth. We've come a long way, and today we have GPS, Google Maps, Waze, and Waze Maps. And Waze is being spelled W-A-Z-E. So Waze is a community-based map and navigation map. Drivers talk to each other and to the system in that application. One of the things that came up recently for the Waze company was a lawsuit where in the Waze app, it will tell you where police are in traffic. The point of knowing that is so you can anticipate a slowdown. As we know, drivers who are speeding tend to throw on their brakes hard when they pass a policeman that they didn't realize was there. That can create a traffic issue and a safety issue. But police feel that it's really prohibits them policing the streets correctly. So they would like Waze to stop showing that. I don't know how that resolved, frankly, but the app still uses that function, and it can be extremely helpful in understanding what to expect in the traffic that's ahead of you. But inside that app too, the community part of it, drivers share real-time data about things in the road, potholes, accidents, speed limits, what they know to be a speed trap, and any other trip information that helps drivers navigate the fastest possible route. So it does speak to you the whole time, which I found some car passengers just don't want to be able to hear. But if you're the driver, it can be extremely helpful. Google Maps, another of these navigational tools that some people prefer over Waze or MapQuest or some of the other ones that are out there. That's a full navigation system that operates like other maps that you're probably accustomed to. They are starting to move more Waze-like. They are starting to add community-based features into the app, but as you may have been here in the DC area, we're commonly next to a Google van that's mapping new roads. So you may have seen something like that. Waze is pretty much just for cars, but Google Maps, as you know, offers walking, driving, biking, and public transportation directions. So I would say until one bites the other or they look like twins, both of these apps are extremely helpful. If you're like me, I get lost in an elevator. So this has changed my life over the last 20 years to be able to use these apps and use them effectively for safety and convenience and getting places on time. So that's, and they also have in Google Maps an Explore feature that allows you to see events, reviews, photos, points of interest, and there, of course, you're probably familiar with the Street View mode, which for a person like myself lets me stand in front of a building and see if I'm at the correct building. If you work in cities a lot like many of us do, you look up and every building looks the same. You're not sure which building you're supposed to be in and the addresses are not clearly marked. That street level view is going to get you a picture of the front door, so you're going to see what you're supposed to be seeing to know that you're in the right place. Now, Waze requires a data connection, so you got to be connected somewhere, but Google Maps is available offline. Google Maps also has business data for some of the sites they're showing you. It's got menus, hours, and phone numbers. Waze does not have that information, so you can see why you need both, right? And Waze offers, there's an old thing in AAA, and it's probably still there today. I've just stopped using it because of these apps. But in the old days, AAA, the road service, used to have this wonderful road map service that they would send you before trips if you were a member. And it told you about road closures, road hazards, traffic alerts, all that good stuff. Well, today, Waze does that, and it does it in real time. In the old days, when AAA sent that to you, it was quite literally paper, and it could have very well been different when you actually drove by the situation you were supposed to be looking at. Now, Google Maps, as I said, has been bringing over Waze features, so someday they might look like twins, but today we recommend using both, whichever suits your purpose in the situation you're in. Now, one other thing I want to bring up before we leave this, we haven't talked about ride sharing, and I don't remember, frankly, if we talk about it a lot in the other slides till we get there. But one thing about ride sharing is, and you can do this with both of these apps too, you can share your route with others as another safety measure. So think about that. Excuse me, let me get a quick drink. Long time to talk today, and I'm suffering with my last bits of my old cold. Okay. We've got wearables. So everyone knows about wearables by this point, the Fitbit, the Versa. I don't know how many versions there are. There's hundreds. But if you're healthy and you want to track these kinds of things, heart rate, sleep, general fitness, if you're trying to get healthy, you can track progress towards your wellness goals. If you're already healthy, you can see if you're improving. There's a lot here in the fitness area, and that's why we wanted to bring it to your attention. One of the things you may be aware of is there's this item for your home. It looks like a big, long mirror that you would normally stand in front of, maybe if you're going out the door to see how things are put together, how you look. But this mirror plays back virtual yoga trainers and other trainers, and it's a little bit like the old fairy tale, I think, I'm trying to think of Snow White, where she talks through the mirror. Same idea, right? So the mirror talks to you, and it is your class for fitness. So in addition to wearables, we're bringing some really cool technology to fitness inside the home. And I would just say, whatever your personal preference is for this kind of activity, choose carefully. So I'm going to bring this up again when we get to phones and things like that, but in wearables and in fitness technology, they are feature laden. That means that there are a number of features that are available for you that you are paying for when you buy whatever you're buying. And that's wonderful, except if you never use them. So one of the things we always want people to pay attention to when they're purchasing technology is, are you using the features that you're paying for? And if you're not, chances are you can go down the scale of the technology and get a simpler technology for much less cost. So just keep that in mind. And on the topic of wearables, we also want to talk about wear outs. So again, we're covering a lot of ground quickly here. These Fireside chats are there to provoke your thinking and get your questions answered when we get that thinking going. So wear outs, you might recall that I walk around with a lot of technology, my 2 titanium ankles. What does this transformational technology let me do? Everything except running and jumping and skiing. I can do everything else. When I had my first one done in 2011, less than 4,000 people around the world had ankles replaced with technology. Today, we're north of 25,000 people a year. That's improving technology. For diabetics, there's something called, and I'm gonna say it hopefully correctly, we have the information for you if it's interesting to you. It's called AirBetic, AERBETIC. This is the device that uses a non-invasive, always-on alert system and can enhance the quality of the more than 460 million people worldwide diagnosed with diabetes. AirBetic is newer and still being demoed, so it's not out there as, you know, a done deal. But initially, it's going to come in the form of bracelets and pendants, so this is familiar to people who have medical issues. The sensors detect target gases indicative of blood glucose levels at parts per billion levels, so comfortably precise, right? The device connects to smartphones and smart home devices via Bluetooth and or Wi-Fi. The alerts for the diabetic are displayed on a mobile app along with periodic reminders to check blood glucose levels. The app can notify caregivers of the status of the person and will relay that sensor and diagnostic information to a cloud-based data warehouse. AirBetic uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to continuously improve the performance of these sensors and fine-tune each unit to the individual patient. That sounds transformational to me, and I think all those millions of diabetics worldwide may also find it quite helpful. Luxury items, the runway versus the watch, or including the watch if you love watches, as some of our clients do. They collect them. It's expensive to collect watches, and that's fine for them. It's something they've chosen to spend their resources on. But as you know, you can pretty much rent anything that you can't afford to or do not want to own. There's a fair amount of technology at work when you're presented with the rental opportunities online. Today, you can see as much on a screen as if you were standing in the store. 3D technology is at work there, and it can provide an augmented reality or virtual reality experience before you buy or rent these items. You might be familiar with Rent the Runway, where you can rent luxury clothes. Did you know, say for Father's Day this year, you can rent a beautiful, expensive watch on a subscription basis from a company called 11 James. Maybe that's a gift, 1 year of a Rolex. And there's another, Flaunt, F-L-O-N-T, for jewelry. So the whole idea behind bringing you this information is that thinking creatively, which is our favorite way to think, there's so many things that someone or someone you care about might enjoy in the world without having to lay out the purchase cost of the same item. You can bring it into their life for some special time period or day, and then it goes right back out again. No harm, no foul, and a whole lot less money spent. One of the things that we always talk about is paying for something versus doing something on your own. And this is, you might see, you can see the apple in the middle of the slide, the line outside of an Apple store for the next iPhone, right? So this is an older picture of one of the lines that we've all seen on the news when an iPhone upgrade in their phones comes out. And technology always gives us a choice, right? I can get out, for example, a calculator, a paper form, paper books about tax law, for example. We just came through tax season, and I can prepare on paper a federal and a state tax return. I did that kind of work for many years as a tax preparer for KPMG and then in my own tax practice. Or today, and actually for many years now, I can fire up TurboTax and complete the return. I never have to kill a tree to use all the information in that return because I have a shareable version electronically when I'm done. And today, I don't even sign it with a pen. I sign it online. All of this saves time, which means I get to use that time saved in a different way. Early adopters, like the people you see here in line at Apple, experience technology a little differently than many of us. But eventually, everything comes down in price, and there's a cost of doing things the old way or paying more and having more time back. The cost is in dollars or time. And when those prices come down, I end up having to make a decision about brand versus function and whether the technology will help me, transform me, or just be another cost and not improve my life dramatically. So today in the phone space, there's a lot of great phones that don't cost near as much as an iPhone or Android. The other part of the decision is overpaying for features that you never use. We touched on this earlier, or that you don't even know about. If you use your phone for just email, calls, and the camera, chances are you can get by with something other than an iPhone or Android. Did you know? And then, when we talk about some of the features that people don't use, but that are already on their expensive phones, did you know that you can do a group FaceTime call? Or that your camera has some very cool settings that upgrade your pictures immediately. You can record video at 4K. That's just like those expensive TVs you see when you walk into the store playing all those beautiful nature shots. And of course, your Apple Store offers classes for your phone. So if you're in possession of an expensive iPhone, let's make sure that you know how to use all the features you have paid for in the price. And the next time you go phone shopping, if the prices seem extreme to you to replace what you've had, and you look around at your usage and you simply do not use all the features that you're paying for, think about going to a less expensive brand that accommodates everything you care about using in the phone. Investing and technology. Investing in technology does not have to be scary like Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, but if you're interested in those, a company that has built a great platform for selling cryptocurrencies and crypto coins or things like Bitcoin is Gemini, what am I trying to think of? Like Scorpio, Pisces, Gemini.com. So Gemini.com is a company that you will recognize probably some of the folks. They're often on television talking about crypto things. So the point about the first circle here that you see on the slide is if you want to get into those markets, there are safe in terms of execution platforms for you to buy those things. And Gemini.com is one of them. I had the opportunity to spend dinner with one of their executives recently at Rick Edelman's Crypto and Blockchain Conference in Salt Lake City last month. So that's a firm that I would recommend as checking out if you decide you want to get into those markets. But what are these other pictures we've got here? Well, the picture that you're looking at on the bottom right, the gentleman who looks like he's kind of in a straitjacket, it's not a straitjacket at all. That's a product that good old 3M makes. So these slides represent, the top picture represents a new firm that does new things. The bottom two are companies that I think you'll be surprised at the amazing things that they're doing in technology. And this is a way to think about how to invest in them. So this one on the bottom right with the gentleman in the, looks like a straitjacket, you should know that not every cool product is coming out of a startup. So these old school companies, left and right, on the left is IBM, we'll talk about that in a minute, and on the right is 3M. They're making amazing things in many, many markets for consumers and for businesses. That presents an investment opportunity in technology for you. So this thing on the right is actually a warming gown. Now it's maybe difficult to see from the picture, but this has the ability to move patient parts. It's extremely flexible. It's called the 3M Bear Hugger Flex Gown, and bear is not spelled like the animal, it's spelled B-A-I-R, and it's the practical economic approach of standardizing multiple warming methods into one gown that takes care of nearly all the preoperative warming requirements. If you've been on a slab for any reason, surgery or some other reason, you know that those things are cold. Now, sometimes you don't know that because you're under, but this idea is to accommodate all the different ways they have to keep the patient temperature at a particular level. So just an amazing thing I would have never realized that 3M was making until I looked into all the technology that they're involved with. They make thousands of products, and another one that includes their technology includes sports and wound care, and it's in their amazing tapes. So we're familiar with Scotch tape from 3M. We're probably familiar with Velcro from 3M. But these tapes that they make that include technology adhere to any kind of hair, any kind of skin, so humans and animals, your pets, your horses, your people, and both address muscle issues. So when you see those athletes with the long tape across them or on their arms or whatever, and that's working on their muscles, 3M makes that. And then hard to close wounds. So goodbye needle and thread for stitches. So very cool thing that 3M does that is another way to invest in technology that hopefully is a little less threatening to you, an investor, than some of the other ways we think about technology. On the left, this is the Rainbow Octopus. It's a product of IBM's, and we're thinking here about animation and cartoons. Have you ever wondered how they get such real looking and sounding characters on the screen? The picture you're looking at is the Rainbow Octopus from IBM, and it's part of their open source project created to show how a developer who's making animated characters could use their Watson services, ArcKit, and some other things to manipulate a 3D animated character, which is what we're watching on screen. And specifically, their software behind this cute character is capturing speech and sending it to speech to text. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different kinds of technology behind our Rainbow Octopus here, all IBM related. And this is pretty interesting because when you put all 7 technologies together, the responses from those services that inform that animation present this animated figure, the octopus. So the whole point of this screen is think creatively about all the different places in your life that technology shows up. What's behind what you're looking at and experiencing? Probably a good amount of technology, and you can invest in that. And sometimes it's not a scary startup or private equity or an alternative or Bitcoin. Sometimes it's company names we know very, very well. Housing tech. We covered some of this in a previous housing seminar, so this will be a little shorter version here. But while you and I might get excited about Alexa, really rich people use technology in their homes too, and they do it on a grand scale. The reason that we mention it in today's presentation is because some version of that will likely bleed into our lives in the future, as all of these ideas come down market to the masses and get less expensive. Did you know that Oprah Winfrey has a radiant heat system that automatically melts snow off her winter home's driveway? And it's common today in many nicer homes to have warm floors in the bathrooms or warm floors in the kitchen, but it's not typical today to have a warm driveway that melts snow. So that may come to a home of yours in the future. And then while Mark Zuckerberg's custom AI, artificial intelligence powered specialty app, acts as his own personal butler, and guess whose voice speaks through Mark Zuckerberg's artificial intelligence powered butler? Actor Morgan Freeman. So pretty nice perk for him. And there will come a day when these robots and robot-like figures are in our homes more commonly, and we can set them up just like we can change Alexa's name and accent and things like that. If you have a personal butler that operates in your home through artificial intelligence, you can pick apparently different voices that would make you appreciate the services even more. And then you and I might have light dimmers in our home. That's been around forever and very common. But these folks who have so much money are using something called a Lutron system that can control 50 or 10,000 lights. So you get the picture. It's the scale and the scope of what's coming. Home technology has so many interesting pieces of it. If you're building or remodeling, the main item we're trying to get you to think about here is there an opportunity for you to use technology wisely that you and a future buyer of your home would appreciate? Food. The way we grocery shop is changing, but hardly decided yet. This is a place where technology is really early, and consumers will shape what changes we end up with for good. So you always have a voice in what stays, right? By your dollars that you spend and the way you use things. So maybe you're familiar with Instacart. Instacart lets you shop your local grocery store online, and then it sends a personal shopper to go pick it up and deliver it to you, generally the same day. This picture is a picture of the first Amazon Go store. And that's basically a grocery store. Maybe it's got about 1,800 square feet of space inside, but it works by using the same types of technologies that we just talked about in self-driving cars. So it's got computer vision, sensor fusion, and deep learning. The store is paying attention to how you use it, and it increases its learning by having the shoppers come through and go out. Unlike other physical shops, though, because obviously we're looking at a physical shop, Amazon Go does not take away the physical shop. It takes away the experience we used to have in a physical shop. So unlike other physical shops, this doesn't have any registers. It doesn't have any checkouts. You just walk in, pick out what you want, and you walk out. And so Amazon actually calls this a just walk out shopping experience. When you leave the store with the things you purchased, I'm putting that in air quotes, your Amazon account is charged automatically and you are sent a receipt electronically. So think about that. There's no waiting in lines. There's no cash registers. So did you just hear the sound of a lot of jobs going away? Maybe. They're different jobs, right? So there's a lot of jobs behind this technology, but they wouldn't be filled by the same people who used to be cash registers and baggers. So that's an important societal difference we have to pay attention to, and a different kind of cost than we're talking about today. That is a cost of technology when we improve. Entertainment. This is entertainment in your home, and we're looking at what we think of as a smart TV. So smart TVs do a lot more than connect to Roku, Netflix, and Amazon. They can connect your PC or Mac to show pictures and programs that are on your computer. They can run any old home movies that you've moved to DVD format. So basically what you're setting up with a smart TV, again, if you know about and take advantage of all the features that it provides for you, maybe you bought it just for the really cool picture, but these things do a lot more. So hopefully you didn't overpay for a basic TV that you're not using all of these features on. But when we have a smart TV, it basically becomes a server, like a server in your house. So think of a server as the gathering place for all the devices. And from there, you can play a number of different things. But here we do recommend that you talk to an expert who is not us, right? We're not media experts or TV experts, but they're out there and they're good. And there's a lot of people in this space. So your TVs are not limited to just the choices that you see in the store. So this is a place where we'd like to see you spend a little bit more time making a choice and choosing maybe a brand that suits you versus a brand that is just in front of you. So think about, too, how homes are going to be changed. I'm thinking about wiring here as we move into the future to accommodate some of these entertainment ideas. And let me just make sure, I think, yeah, I want to stay on the slide for this other piece too. Entertainment outside of the house. So let's take a brand that we all know, Disney. 30% of Disney's stock value comes from the parks that it runs, right? Disney World, Disneyland, things like that. So Disney has a vested interest in improving the visitor's experience, and they use ever-improving technology to do it. But you may not always be aware of all that's behind your experience at the parks. So one example today that we have is its Mobile One app that lets visitors order and pay for food when they're somewhere in the park and they're nowhere near the food vendor that they're eventually going to pick up their order from. That avoids having to stand in long, hot lines. Now, just to give you some idea of other parks and the way they're using technology, when we think of water parks, they do some amazing things. Even cruise ships do the same thing. They're using technology to give you a surfing experience, but without the sharks. And they're using technology to change the way that that slow raft ride feels. Today, they have technology that will take you up the hill faster, giving you a thrill on the way up than the time it takes for you to come down. And if you like to be thrilled and maybe a little frightened, these parks are also using 3D films in other parts of their parks. You get off the rides, you go into this theater to show you things like, what does flooding look like? And just the raw power of water, but it's in a safe environment inside a theater. So pretty cool ideas for entertainment, and we're just scratching the surface on all of these. So I invite you to think even more about it. Safety technology. When we think of, well, before we go to safety technology, let's just look at this travel picture. Look at the technology in an airline today versus what it used to look like. So it's interesting to me that we used to have planes with almost nothing in them except people. And look at the children up and about, not seat belted, no one's seat belted. Look at the luggage on the left, not secured. And of course, there was turbulence back then too, and other issues with airplanes. But today, in spite of all the issues we have with travel on planes, and there are many, discussion for another day, what we do enjoy is incredible safety, and we enjoy entertainment while we have that safety. So just another quick example of how much technology has improved and continues to improve. And you're experiencing technology when you make your ticket choices, and you have all, and they're behind the screen, the technology is behind the screen, you're in front of it, and the two are interacting, and it's watching how you choose tickets, how you pay. It's learning from your ticket behavior, and it's imparting that into the experience of the seat you ultimately end up in and what you pay for it. Safety technology. Again, for those of us of a certain age, we have a mental picture when we hear the words, I've fallen and I can't get up. And it's not a pretty picture. When you see this picture of wearable safety technology, do you think of, I've fallen and I can't get up? I think it's gorgeous. I think it looks like valuable jewelry. So think about the people you care about and love who may have balked in the past about wearing something associated with growing old or immobile. These devices that we're looking at reclaim independence, and that makes them transformational and worth paying for. The one you're looking at is called the WiseWear Duchess Bracelet, and it does cost $345. But if that's expensive for you, consider having multiple family members contribute. There are so many of these safety technologies out there. I would just encourage you, if this is something you want to look at for people, there's a lot, and we can help you with some of the links, but just look into this because the market has changed measurably over the last few years. And then in addition to regular safety technology, health technology that helps us if we've fallen, there's personal safety. So I'm not going to rain on this fun tech presentation by listing the well-documented safety issues for women, children, and everybody, but you probably know them well enough to appreciate that technology can improve your chances of avoiding assault, or at least surviving if that unkind and unfair thing should happen to you. That makes this kind of tech transformational and worth paying for. Many of these are free. If you use ride sharing, as I said earlier, your ride info details can be shared with others. If you're on foot or out and about, there are a ton of phone apps that can keep you safer. Circle of Six is one. It's free. It lets you pick 6 people in your circle that let you coordinate rides, calls, and texts for help if you need them. It also has a danger button if you have an abusive person in your life, so you can let people know that person has showed up. There's another one called Scream Alarm. It's free too. You hold the button down on your phone, and if you let go, it blares a loud scream, and there are siren versions of this software as well. But one of the coolest is called Watch Over Me. Instead of requiring you to hit a button, which can lose valuable seconds to find it, or to send out an emergency alert, the app activates when you simply shake your phone, even if the cell phone is locked. Shaking your phone will turn on your alarm and video camera and send an alert to emergency contacts. That is smart technology worth paying for. So that concludes the ideas we wanted to bring to you today. And I just implore you to look around, become aware of where technology is being used and how it can transform your life. I want to let you know that next month, our fireside chats turn into poolside chats through October. Just our front picture will change, and how we, some of the topics that we're talking about might be a little lighter over the summer. So I want to thank you as always for joining us today. We're going to take our questions after the webinar, so submit those to our emails or website whenever it feels comfortable for you. And remember, we have a library of these that you can look through, and the people that you care about can look through. So just reach out at any time to get those links, and we look to see you at the next chat, which of course is a poolside chat. See you in May. Thank you.